Hello and welcome into another weekly Spirit Boost. I'm Tammy Mashverdi, best-selling author of the book The Universe is Talking to You, and I teach people how to tap into the divine higher helpline for guidance, for answers, for a partner in life. And so I come on here every Thursday at noon Eastern time to share some advice, some inspiration, answer questions, chat with everyone on their spiritual path. And so I was actually on here a couple of weeks ago. I think it wasn't last week because last week I talked about synchronicity. And if you missed any of these weekly spirit boosts, there's a playlist in YouTube that you can go to. You can also look through the past videos on my Instagram as well as my Facebook. And I believe there's a playlist in Instagram also. So I was on here, I think it was 2 weeks ago, talking about signs from loved ones and how oftentimes they will use their name. So my mother's name is Marianne, and oftentimes I'll hear the name Marianne. Whatever your significant other, spouse, loved one, mother, father, brother, sister will often use their name because it immediately will help us recognize them. And so last week I was on here talking about synchronicity, and this week I want to go back to signs because I have a ridiculously incredible story about names for you. But in addition to that, I taught a class as part of this season's Living an Elevated Existence Mind, Body, and Soul Summit that is happening now through April. It's a free summit. And I taught a class in it that is available to listen to if you sign up at elevatedexistencesummit.com if you're not already signed up. And you'll find that link in my bio on Instagram as well as below the video on YouTube and Facebook. You can listen to that class, but the class was how to ask for and get answers from the universe and loved ones on the other side, because we are constantly in communication and being guided. And as part of that class, I walked everybody through an exercise to jumpstart signs. And I said to them, let me know, send me your stories. I never tire of hearing of these amazing stories of people who get these incredible signs. And boy, did I hear from people. And I pulled out a couple to share with you here, as well as I want to share with you a couple from my own life. But it was just the most interesting one that I'm going to start with was the name thing, because I literally was just on here 2 weeks ago talking about how they use their name. And for the most part, it's the first name, right? So this was last week. My aunt called me. She was at work. And someone had called in, and it was a customer, and their last name was Batista. Now, my grandparents on my mother's side, so my aunt's parents, last name was Batista. So very Italian, can you tell? So it's not a common name, right? And this is the last name we're talking about. So my aunt, I forgot to put comments so I could see people's comments in case. Okay. So my aunt said, oh, she wasn't sure if this person, whatever their first name was already a customer. So she went to her computer and typed in the last name Batista to see, is this a new customer? Have we already worked with this person before? Whatever. She types in the last name Batista. What pops up in the system? My mother's name, Marianne, which was her maiden name. Her maiden name was Marianne Batista. She said she stopped and she was like, okay, first of all, what are the odds that Batista, the last name, comes up? Second of all, what are the odds that there was somebody in the system that she didn't know about that was Marianne Batista? So she calls me. This is crazy. Can you believe this? I said, oh my gosh, she's definitely around you. You know, she's been around us a lot lately. We've been getting a lot of signs from her. And so we hang up, going about our day. Maybe like 2 hours later, maybe even less than 2 hours later, she calls me back. Tammy, you're not going to believe this. I was like, what? She goes to place an order for something for the business. So, you know, when you order something online, let's say you have multiple people in your household and you go to order something and like the autofill comes up with the names of the people that maybe you've written before. Well, she goes to place an order for something, for a supply, for something for the company she works for. She goes to place an order. One of the names that comes up is my grandfather's name, Carmine Batista, her father. She's like, Tammy, I have never entered anything. I've never ordered anything under his name. I've never entered anything under his name. What are the odds that not just a first name, but both names came up? And literally shortly after my mother's name came up with that last name. That is such an extreme and crazy example. And I said, I have to share this because I was just talking about names. And obviously, for the most part, I was talking about first names because, you know, those are more common, right, than last names. It was incredible. So I said to her, well, they are around you right now. You know what I mean? Like, that's insane. So I had to share that story because that was such an extreme example. And it's not always going to be that extreme, you guys. You're not always going to have that particular thing show up in that way. But this is the length they will go to get through to you. Okay. So that's the first story that I had to share. And that literally just happened last week. Was it last week or the beginning of this week? Now I can't even remember. It was after my last weekly Spiritual Boost. So it was between last Thursday and this Thursday. So in addition to that, I'll tell you another story about me, and then I want to share with you a couple of signs that people who took that class, which again, you can listen to that class for free right now. It is available through April at elevatedexistencesummit.com. You sign up and you'll get access to all of the interviews that I'm doing twice a week with experts. Today, I'm interviewing New York Times bestselling author and energy healer, Deborah King. That's happening at 1 p.m. Eastern. But you can listen to my interview. It's up right now, and it doesn't expire like the rest of them. So the second crazy thing of my mother getting through to us was I went to a Super Bowl party at my cousin's house on Super Bowl, obviously. And so I was there and I was getting ready to leave. And as I was getting ready to leave, my aunt was telling me a story about my uncle, her husband, who had passed away it'll be 2 years in April. And how she looked out the window that morning when she was getting ready to go to the party and cooking and whatever. And she saw a cardinal and she knew it was him. And I said, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Get my coat on, get ready. I leave the house. Now, my aunt and my sister drove together because they live closer to one another, and I drove separately. So they got into their car before me. I was talking to somebody else before I left. I get into my car, turn on the car, the radio comes on, and this song, the name of the song is More Than a Feeling by Boston. And I'm not going to sing it for you because Lord knows that's not my talent. I'm a writer. Okay. I'm a teacher, but I'm not a singer. But anyway, it's More Than a Feeling. And in the song, it says, I see my Marianne walking away, or I see Marianne walk away. So anytime I hear that song, obviously I think of my mother, right? Because it's her name. So I hear that song and I think to myself, oh my gosh, I have to tell my aunt and my sister. My aunt was just telling me about the sign that she got from my uncle. And here I got into this car. My mother obviously was at this party with us and letting us know she's around. Well, I forget to tell them. And a couple days later, I'm talking to my sister and she says to me, oh my gosh, it was so weird when we left the Super Bowl party and got in the car. This song, I guess it was Whitney Houston's I Will Always Love You was on. And that reminds my aunt of my uncle. She's like, and then right after that song More Than a Feeling came on. And I was like, wait a minute. I heard the same song at the same time. We were listening to the same radio station in two separate cars. And I said, oh my God. I'm like, I meant to tell you and I forgot to tell you. I said, and now you just said that. And I was like, I said, you left before me. So you must have heard the song before that. I got in the car, turned it on, and that song was on. I was on that station and they were on the same exact station. So is that not insane? So wait, so it gets crazier. So now this was maybe like Wednesday or Thursday of last week. I can't remember. Friday night, my husband and I go out finally for a date night. We're celebrating Valentine's Day. We haven't been out to dinner together by ourselves in a while. Our schedules are crazy. And so I'm telling him the story of how that song came on for both of us in 2 different cars, and he's like, "My gosh, your mother is so, strong. She's so I can't believe how much she still really is she's just amazing at letting you know she's around and blah, blah, blah." And so we're talking, and we were talking about my mother and because my husband never actually met my mother. She passed before I met my husband. And so we were talking about her, and I guess we had finished talking about her and had just moved on to something else. Now, we had been in the restaurant. At this point, we were already eating dinner or finishing up dinner. And music had been playing the entire time in the restaurant, but I hadn't paid any attention to what was on because, when you're in a restaurant, it's not like blaring. And so we were talking about something, and all of a sudden I stop and I go, "Shh." I'm like, "Do you hear that?" It was the song More Than a Feeling by Boston. And I said, "My mother is here. She knows I'm telling you this story. Like, this is insane." And you guys, my mother passed away almost 22 years ago, over 22 years ago. It doesn't matter how long they're gone, right? It doesn't matter. They still have the ability to get through. It is a lifelong connection that doesn't die when the physical body dies. And so those are just some of my crazy, amazing stories of things that have happened. Now I want to share with you a cup and by the way, all of them were name related. So the universe knew I was talking to you all about names a couple of days ago or a couple of weeks ago. And my mother chose the song with her name in it because there's other songs that, there's a handful of other songs that remind me of her. She chose a song with her name in it, and both of my grandparents on my mother's side used their names to get through to my aunt within the same day. So that's just a confirmation to me that I need to share with you. Pay attention to the names. Okay. That is the first piece of this puzzle. The second things that I just want to share with you, two other stories. I just love hearing them, and I feel like they help other people realize the different ways that the universe will try and your loved ones will try to get through to you. So in this class that I taught, that again, if you go to elevatedexistencesummit.com, you can sign up for free and listen to, I shared a lot about how we talk to the universe, how the universe talks to us, and how signs come through. I specifically also, of course, spoke about signs from loved ones and things like that. And so I brought everybody through an exercise to sort of jumpstart signs. And I said to them, within the next 3 days, be on the lookout and email me. And I had them do what I call assign a sign. So they assigned a sign to a specific person. You can assign a sign to a loved one who has passed on, to a specific angel or archangel that you might be working with. You can assign a sign to a guide, anything like that, so that you sort of start building your uh, reference guide to, or your own dictionary for how these particular beings or loved ones communicate with you. And so that's what I had them do. And I was like, I want to hear from you. Let me know what you get. Let me know what comes through. And so I want to share with you two really cool stories that I got from people about this. And there's more than two, but I don't want to go crazy. So I don't know if I want to say who it was. So I'll just give you the story instead of saying exactly who it is, because I don't know if they would be cool with me sharing or not, but I'm just going to share the story and just know that it was a being in the world. So the first story that I got was an email that said, "Today was my first class with you, and I had to send you an email. I asked Archangel Raphael for a butterfly as my sign." So again, Archangel Raphael, if you're on a healing journey and you're working with Archangel Raphael, or you want to know Archangel Raphael is hearing your prayers or wanting to know you're around, this would be an amazing person to assign a sign to. Okay, so I asked Archangel Raphael for a butterfly as my sign. just now as I was watching a movie that I have seen before and never heard this part. How many times have you seen a movie over and over and over again, right? And you continue watching it. So she's never seen this or heard this part, even though she'd seen the movie. And a woman said, "A butterfly flew into my office this morning, and it reminded me how small things have such a huge impact on the world." I was stunned to say the least and wanted to share. So, first of all, thank you so much for sharing, you beautiful soul out there that wrote this to me. I always tell people when you're looking for a sign, she asked for a butterfly. Does that mean she has to see a butterfly fly past her face? No. Does that mean she has to see a picture of a butterfly? No, but that would count, right? If you get something, she just heard somebody telling a story about a butterfly and it snapped her out of it. That is how the universe will communicate with you. And it's not always the exact way that you think. That's why you have to let go. You have to open up. You have to not try and dictate every little thing. It's the same thing when you're trying to create something new in your life. You can't dictate exactly how it's going to happen or what it's going to look like. You have to allow the universe to guide you where you want to go or somewhere better. It can't be sort of tunnel vision, right? And it's the same thing with signs. So I love that she got that. And I'm sure since then, there's been other butterfly signs around her as well, but I love that story. The second story that I want to share with you is someone else wrote in, and this is really cool. And they sent an image to go with this, and I have the image queued up here, I think, that I can show you. Here it is. Okay. So let me tell you the story first. So the story is, I just wanted to share that I asked for a sign of a bald eagle. I love this. From Archangel Chamuel. My current question has been whether I should continue my career, because Archangel Chamuel can help you find a new job, find a love relationship, find things that are lost. My current question has been whether I should continue my career as a pet care professional, which can be challenging, budgeting and scheduling wise, as well as heartbreaking, as I become attached to so many animals who oftentimes eventually will move away or pass on. So I made a specific request. Please show me a bald eagle if you hear me, and I should remain at this profession as part of my life's purpose. She said 24 hours after she asked, this is what she came upon. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can. Now, Instagram, I'm sorry I can't show you, but I'll show you in another. I'll post it in my stories. This is what she came across. I know it's covering me. Hi, on Facebook. But literally, it says, suggested for you, bald eagle mama sits on her eggs throughout a huge snowstorm to make sure they hatch. And I want you to look at the bottom here. Do you see this number? 111? Or 111. She wrote in, and a big PS, note the number of likes, which was 111. The number 111 is a hugely significant sign that I receive, often knowing my loved ones are with me. My childhood home house number is 111, where my mom still lives. I see it almost daily. Anyway, I couldn't have received a clearer sign than this. My heart is soaring. Do you see what happens when you start opening up to the power of the universe and its energy around you? It is always talking to us. It is always talking to us. Our loved ones are always talking to us. Our archangels are what I call our higher helpers, which are our angels, our guides, goddesses, gods, ascended masters, saints. The list goes on and on. They are around you. And when you start to make the connections, life becomes magical. Magical. Harry Potter, magical. For those of you who watch Harry Potter. And so I love these stories, and I love these people that wrote in to share them with me, because they're incredible. They're incredible, and I never tire of hearing them. And that's why I wanted to come on here and share some of them with you, or some of my favorites with you, before I go back to the summit at 1 p.m. today, again, we have New York Times bestselling author and energy healer Deborah King, who's going to be talking about intuition, the use of medical intuition for healing, as well as other various aspects of energy healing and the body and all of that. So that's coming up today. But if you want to do the exercise with me that everybody did to send in these emails, if you want to hear more about this and hear me teach more about this, if you go to elevatedexistence.summit.com, you can listen to my class for free. I think I went like an hour and a half because I talk too much. And so you can listen to that just like a podcast. It's audio only for that particular thing because the summit is sort of like a podcast. It's audio. So I just wanted to come on here and share because what crazy stories with names in my own life and in my loved one's life. And then some of those awesome stories of signs. And those are only a handful. I mean, I could sit on here all day and talk to you guys about these amazing things that come through and that people have been able to access once they learn how the universe and their loved ones talk to them. And that's really what I'm teaching. So I'm going to go prep for the summit interview coming up at 1 p.m. Eastern. Again, if you're not part of the summit, definitely join. It is completely free. You get bonus gifts just for joining. And every speaker is either mind, body healing, manifestation, or intuition. They all give free gifts. They all have special offers you can only get through the summit. And we just have a lot of fun and you learn a lot of stuff and you experience a lot of things and there's live healings and it's awesome. So, and it happens every year and we're in season 10. And I am going to be teaching a second class coming up. Oh my gosh, I think it's next week. Next Thursday, I'm going to be teaching a second class. So get in on that. And thank you for being here. Thank you, John, for the comment. Oh, you have an incredible one. You will email me. Great. I love it. I love it. Thank you all for being here. I'm sending you love into the weekend. I hope you have an amazing and wonderful weekend. I hope you will join us in the summit for Deborah's interview. And at the end of this month, I open up the interviews that you might have missed in February as well for a free replay weekend so you can catch up. Thank you all for being here. If you're joining the summit, I will see you over there in about a half an hour. And just have an amazing weekend. And please do not hesitate to send me the signs that you get or that come through because I really do love hearing them. And I may just share them with others to sort of inspire and help them on their path as well. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you guys back here next Thursday. Bye, everyone.